Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here today to give you a couple more updates on our properties. We have two other pieces of properties. Well, we actually have three. One is down in Oregon. We tend to forget about it. It's just a 2-acre piece that we have. We're just letting it sit really. And we may sell it, we don't know, but at any rate, it's there. And we've had that one for quite a few years. But we have the other two pieces, one we bought in 2019, which is just right down the road, which makes it nice. It's just a shy 1-acre piece, and I'm just sharing this if you're new. And what I'm going to do, if you want to know more about that and what we've been doing with it, I'll link to the video I did most recently on that down below. But I'm going to be expounding on that and what we've done even since I've shot that video. And then talking a little bit about the 6-acre piece that we bought way out in the boonies, And both pieces are off grid. And that 6-acre piece is definitely our, if we need to get out of Dodge piece. And it is kind of fun and exciting to have it. I've only been out there once, but Patrick's been out there several times. So I'll talk about that one later. But first, let's talk about what's been going on this closer piece right here. So just to briefly cover what that other piece of property is for. Now, when we bought it, we weren't sure what we were going to do with it, but we knew that we really liked it. And we don't have intentions of moving on to it, but right now for us, it's a great extended site from here since it's just right down the road. We have that for extra storage. We also have, it came with a little tiny cabin, and we've used that a couple of times for family. It's a great camping spot for when family comes out, and we did this in August, had a nice family reunion out there, and it was a lot of fun. The family camped out there, and I'll get into what Patrick did to make that nice for the family, and these are permanent things that will stay for our grandbabies and any other events that we have out there. But as far as business goes, it also is an extended site for business, for our YouTube channel, whatever, for Patrick to store lumber, to store his wood mill, for sawing up the lumber. And we have a mobile shop, so to speak, that we keep out there. And so Patrick, a lot of times when he's shooting his videos, you'll see him actually working in that box truck, using it as a mobile shop. And so it's just super nice for us to have that. It's also a place we can store all our heavy equipment, and heavy equipment that we've had some for probably close to 20 years now, like our backhoe and the original trailer and dump truck. And now we have some other equipment to go with that. And so it gives us a place to store that instead of here back at on our shy 1/3 acre corner lot and neighborhood right here. We don't have room for all that stuff here now. So, and I go into more detail about what that heavy equipment is about, I think, in that other video, but also in another that I just recently shot that I'll be putting down below, at least I think. And it should be out by the time you see this video. And as far as the new stuff, that's what this was really about, that Patrick did. This isn't YouTube related. This isn't homesteading related. This isn't even business related. This is just family related. Making that property as family oriented as possible, as well as having it as an extended business and homesteading site. And that is the addition of the horseshoe pit. That was the very last thing Patrick did. Just as family was showing up, he was finishing that up, getting the sand in the horseshoe pits. And of course, you'll be seeing photos of some of these different things as I'm talking about it. He didn't do a video on that. He was just in a hurry to get it done. So sorry we didn't have a video on how he built the boxes and all that. And because it was kind of one of those, let's get this done, and he wasn't sure if he was going to do it or not, and he did. And so then the tetherball, that was one of the other things he installed, and it's a permanent setup. He got the concrete. He did a video on that. Kids loved it. And then before that, we had a video on the swings that he built, and those were great. They were perfect. We have 3 swings. One was lower to the ground, so it was perfect for the little bitty guys. And it was so great for me to see them little ones enjoying that little swing just as much as the higher up swing. So those higher swings, I love those. Every time I go out there, I have to make it a point to swing on at least one, if not both of them. And I do have my favorite, but I do like them both. We also, if you remember in a video a while back, the set here, our table set that we have right here is brand new. And the reason that is because, and here's a picture of it here, is because in early August, this is like just before the family was going to come, wind, we had that set for, what did I say, at least 22 years? I don't remember. It's well over 20 years. And it had a glass top, and the wind, we just kind of had a breezy day, and it just happened after all these years to catch that sun umbrella just right, and turned it in such a way that it shattered the top of the table. And I'm like, no, not now. We need this table, because we do some of the stuff, even when they come and camp out there, we do some stuff here too. We have at least one night that people come over here. We do game night in the room in there. People will sit out here. And so I needed the table here. And Patrick, we weren't sure if Patrick was going to have time to build a new tabletop. So we needed another table out there anyway. So what we did was we bought this set just to have it right away. And I love it, by the way. We got it from Costco.com. And then the other set we moved out to the property. So the cushions, we had the nice cushion chairs, and Patrick just put a real rough, very thick tabletop on it, and it worked great. And so a lot of times we spent time when we were all hanging out there, gathered around that table just chatting, even though there are plenty other places to sit and eat. There a lot of times we were right there, and it was so wonderful, especially when it started to drizzle. We were all kind of huddled under that because we had the umbrella. So that's going to be a permanent fixture out there now, is that table and chair set. We already had the badminton set, so it was just a matter of setting it up and having it ready to go. We leave it set up all through the summer in case there's any other spur of the moment gatherings. Some other things that Patrick did was got an Amish made wagon, which was really cool, and the kids loved it. As soon as they showed up, my most active nephew, the one that's always, he's just like my oldest brother. First thing he did was get in that wagon and go bombing down that steep hill, and he hit the bottom and all the sides came off. It didn't break. It's just, they all just fly off, and he loved it. He was just like, cool, I went really fast down the hill and I crashed. It was awesome. So it was just so fun to see the kids just having a lot of fun with that. And most of the time my older nieces were pulling the younger ones around in that wagon all over the property. Wherever they went, they would pull them around in there, and they just had a ball with it. And then with the extra sand that we had, which the funny thing is, the extra sand we had for the horseshoe pits was the extra sand from my son, my oldest son, Jackson's dad. He put in a sandbox for Jackson at their house. And so we took the extra sand, took it over to the property, and then put that in the horseshoe pits. We still had extra sand we just left there at the top of the hill. And Patrick had also bought some new Tonka trucks, and the kids had fun playing in the sand with the Tonka trucks. And so it's just been so great. It's so wonderful that we've been able to do this. Now let's talk a little bit about that cabin. Now Patrick did find, I think on Facebook Market, a really good deal locally on an old propane stove. In fact, we've been watching a lot of these schoolie videos, and we've been seeing that same exact stove in these videos, and a lot of people have the same one. It's just a small little oven, a range I should say, with a stove top, and here's a picture of it right here. And so we right now have that sitting in the little cabin. Now we can set it up to use in there if we want. We're still a little unsure if we're going to do anything real specific with that cabin other than using it for storage for all the games and stuff. But we could leave it where it's at, and eventually what we would like to do is put a day bed or a futon, something that'll fit in there that can also be made into a bed for when family, if they just want to camp out in there. And then having that little stove in there is nice. The cabin already came with a couple of chairs and the table, and so that's been pretty handy. Sometimes we'll go out there to have lunch just to get away from the house, and we'll either, if we're not sitting outside at one of our little tables out there, because we have a couple other tables we got for free at a garage sale, stone top tables, and a couple of chairs. We'll sometimes sit out there and have lunch, or we'll sit in the cabin itself, just depending on the weather. And so that's really nice. But the main reason Patrick bought that range is to possibly move it out to our other piece of property, or whatever it is that we're going to end up doing out there. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. But anyway, that's a couple of the things going on there. And then I forgot to mention that the two things that we're looking at adding to that property out there is a permanent sandbox, and then also a zip line. We actually used to have a zip line here at the house. There would be no place for it now, but it went from the top of the playhouse that you'll see. It's just right over our chicken coop. So it was originally the playhouse that we built, and that Patrick built years ago when the kids were real little. And then we wanted to keep the playhouse for the grandkids. So we just put in that space underneath. That's where Patrick closed in that area and turned it into a chicken coop. So that's where our chickens are. But anyway, the zip line used to go from as far up on that playhouse as we could get clear into our front yard to a tree we used to have out there, but we got rid of all those big trees. And the kids love that. But if we put a zip line in out the other piece of property, we can make it longer and even higher. So it'll be even more fun, especially for the older kids. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be super cool. And then now to talk about the other piece of property. Now there's not a whole lot going on there yet. So far all Patrick's done is taken a couple of loads of gravel out there to kind of put in a road. Well, it's a road that was already there because there's a guy that owns a piece of property right next to ours and he actually lives out there. Very, very off-grid, very off-grid. So anyway, you know, it makes it nicer for him too because that road goes through our property back to his property. But anyway, so he's done that. But the things we're thinking, he's also thrown a hose down into the creek down below. I've got a little video clip here. And I think he was testing to see what kind of pressure he could get going through there, considering our options for water if we ever have to go out there, if we decide to even just camp out there or whatever. We're just going to have ourselves set up one way or the other. And initially Patrick was thinking about building a cabin, like a permanent cabin that we could go stay in or live in if we had to. But I started thinking a little bit differently because I don't know that I want to live out there. I like having that piece of property. I like knowing it's an option, something we've been actually working towards doing for at least 25 years. And now we finally have the property after lots and years and years and years of hunting and searching. But I would rather have something that we could easily remove from that property if we ever decided to sell it or changed our mind about it. So this is why I've been watching a lot of videos on schoolies and different things. Now, I love the schoolies. I love the way people have been setting them up to work for them. And I love the idea of having something that we can just drive up there. It's pretty much ready to go. We can finish setting it up there. We can put that little oven in there. And then if we change our mind, just drive it right off. But the problem is because it is up a high mountain and we're not sure how well a schoolie would handle going up those particular roads. So the other thing we're kind of really stewing on is possibly getting some kind of four-wheel setup, maybe a retired military vehicle that we could then set up as to be a mobile home of sorts and live out of that if we have to. Eventually, if we did end up permanently moving out there, we would obviously need to build some other outbuildings to hold our other stuff, you know, our food storage and so on and so forth, and Patrick's tools and stuff. And of course, we'd be looking at using both the water and solar power for power and doing as much things, you know, without power as we can, like we've been practicing for years right here. So far, that's kind of what we're looking at there. Now, aside from allowing the blackberries at this closer piece, the blackberries that grow wild around here, which is the Himalayans and the evergreens, the Himalayans are the best. They've got the biggest thorns, but they taste the best. We've allowed some areas in there to fill in with the blackberries so that we can have access to those easily right out there. And that's been wonderful this year. But we're also thinking about taking like these thornless ones I have growing here and planting them out at the 6-acre piece out of town, as well as some raspberries. We'll be getting some plants from our neighbor this next spring, and we'll put a few here. We want to put a few at the piece down the road, and then we want to take some and put them out that other piece. So looking at establishing some perennials out there that will do well. We know that berries do great here in rain country, and possibly even getting maybe some fruit trees and setting them out there, because there's really nothing out there as far as any of that kind of stuff goes. Yeah, mushrooms, you can find mushrooms out there, but because of that property being very, very shaded from the trees, obviously a lot of the trees are going to have to come out. And we're debating how much we want to take out. It's very shaded, so there's a lot of things that won't grow under there. Maybe huckleberries would do great. Huckleberries do like shady areas, but blackberries prefer more sun than what that area is getting. So there would have to be a lot of changes, and obviously fruit trees would too. So anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at now. And really stewing on this vehicle idea, some kind of mobile tiny house that we could live out of if we had to, and having that just be an option. And again, it's not like we're looking at moving out there and living out there forever or permanently. We're going to keep this place for as long as we can, or as long as we want to, and maybe forever. But we just want to know we have other options out there. So that's what we're looking at. So I just wanted to give you an update. And as other bigger events happen down the road, we'll definitely be doing updates on that, especially if we end up getting a bus or retired military vehicle and start fixing it up ourselves. You'll definitely be seeing videos on that. We just don't know for certain yet. We're still stewing on these different ideas. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to check out the other videos that we've done about this, and that I'll be putting in the description box down below. So any thoughts, ideas you have on whatever that I talked about, please share them down below, and might give us some more ideas to stew on what we want to do with that other piece outside of town. And thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.